This is Poly Day 8, and I've come to the conclusion, because I had to go to somewhere where people saw me today, and I didn't like that. I didn't like being looked at all. I'm always worried about the top of my head because this piece is too small, I think. I think it's probably about right for the hairline. Let's have a look. No, it should probably be there. There's a bit of dirt on top, like a bit of fluff from my glove that I was wearing because it's fucking cold. Which is great for poly, by the way. Cold weather is perfect for poly. You don't want sweat under there. But I haven't tried the pin method, and I think getting a pin and going like that so many times, I mean, it's effective, but isn't there something with lots of prongs? I haven't bought anything like that. I'm not going to surprise you and bring out this awesome thing because I haven't thought it through. I don't know what exactly has lots of prongs apart from a fork, but they widen because the prongs, are they called tines? I think there are some technical words for the prongs of a fork. Anyway, the prongs, I want like there to be 15 of them at a time, so I just do it 3 times on a piece, right? My pieces are about to become this size instead of this size. So that's a huge size increase. That will mean that I have to shave that extra space out of the top of my head. And as you can see, I've just been pulling back on it. Well, there's a bit of a color mismatch on this one as well. My hair changes color between summer and winter. It's obviously darker in winter. Like anyone with brown hair, unless it's jet black, your hair fluctuates in color by the seasons. So I'm looking at this gap here, and it's not really a shaven, it's not so much a shaven gap. It's more of a density absence. Like I can't really tell at this point just there. Wow, that's just really, really, really light density in there when I pull those hairs aside. I wonder how far back that goes. That lack of density. Does it happen on the side of my head where I know I'm not balding? See, it's hard to pull hairs back and split them open like you do on the top, on the sides, because, you know, well, they're short. If they're long, we would expect it. And then I've got the back of my head here, which I cannot access with a mirror. I would need a camera there, which I'm starting to invent for you guys. A camera that can be suddenly suction cupped to the wall here and spun around and guided while you look at your phone screen with a Wi-Fi connection, hopefully with no lag. Because you don't want to be pushing your head there and then seeing your hand appear on your head in the camera like 1 second later. I think there's probably a tolerance level that's okay. It might be 100 milliseconds, but even that 1/10 of a second is probably too long. We'll see what I can do, because I'll need it for myself. And if I make it, then I might as well make you chumps pay me some money for it, because it's needed by anybody who does their own makeup or hair, you know, locations on the back of their head or whatever it is. Even for dermatology, for self-examinations and stuff. This is quite sparse up here, without any hair, but that bit there is obviously more sparse. But that might just be because that's the shaven spot right there, where the hair was shaved from, combined with the sparseness of this. Yeah, that looks like that hairpiece is way too far forward of the hair growth. But still, some of it could just be the sparseness of the hairs, because there where I thought it was shaved off, it's not shaved off. That's actually how sparse those hairs are. Even there, that's really, that poly piece might actually be right up against the border, but because the border is so thin and lacking, like that looks fucking bald right there, that spot there. I'm sorry, I'm looking in the mirror more than I'm helping the camera work. Look at the glue that's starting to get, and see, you see these horizontal V-loops that are really dark across there? They're really unsightly. It would be great if hair companies made sure they were completely bleached at the base of the root of every hair, right along the bottom there. What they would have to do is probably bleach the whole thing blonde and then dip the rest in the color that you've chosen. Because that's giving me the nasty sort of glue line over there. But then again, if I look in here, I'm seeing sparseness to an extent as well. It's just that the stitching of the hairs along inside there makes it look like it's not as sparse as it actually is. Because a lot of hairs are sort of not there, but the V-loops might not be V-loops, they might be more like U-loops, unless they're lying flat, but it looks like they're stitched in like that out of laziness or something because they couldn't pull the needle up fast enough. Because if you imagine, you want to get, if you took a needle and thread and sewed it through a very, very thin piece of plastic, like maybe just like a plastic bag, don't forget, polys, if you look at the underside of a poly hairpiece, there are no, I can scratch that and I'm not pulling on any of the hairs. So if this is 0.03 millimeters thick in total, it must have been even thinner when they sewed through the plastic. Now imagine sewing a human hair through the first layer of plastic, which might have been 0.015, maybe, if it's half of this, millimeters thick, and you don't want it to tear with every hair you pull through. So you wouldn't V-loop it, because that's only giving that much plastic hold. I can't make my finger that small. Even my fingernail is about 5 times thicker than what the plastic is that they're dealing with, right? If you make it a tiny little V that just goes chunk, chunk, right? That one piece of plastic, it all just would rip out. And I'm wearing poly now, so, and they're not just ripping. The hairs just don't rip out like that. You can grab the hairs, and if I grab one hair, it's, you know, probably more likely. Because as Caesar from Planet of the Apes says, one stick break, many stick strong, right? He knows what he's talking about. And he's an ape, so I know what I'm talking about. Although I'm not admittedly as smart as Caesar, I've got the green glowing eyes and shit. Anyway, let's look at the top surface of how they're sewn in. Well, I've bleached that quite nicely on the top there. I'm pretty happy with that bleaching. Now that it's all dry and easy to see, these are the ones I bleached the other day. Hopefully that's not too much blonde at the front or anything. It looks like quite nice. That was about an hour of exposure, and I tried to make sure I didn't go too high on the hairs. I aimed fairly carefully when I put that in the video 200. I wonder if this blue tack melts from the heat of the phone and eventually goes. Yeah, I cut these out and bleached the front of them in video 200. So this would be video 202, I think, because I just put Poly Day 7 up, and so this will be, well, Poly Day 8, I guess. But yeah, I've just been uncomfortable with this visibility of all of this, and maybe the height of the hairpiece at the front. Because my hair's short enough that it's been hanging forward, I haven't really been paranoid about the hairline so much. Whereas I would have been paranoid with the hairline with the lace piece, because I know that's constantly getting dirty and mucky on the front with that dirty line. So don't have that with poly. That's great. So poly is definitely the go for the front hairline in terms of days 2 all the way through to the rest of the time you ever wear it. Lace is best on day 1, but it's not worth the daily maintenance. But lace is great around the perimeter. It melds better with the hairs back here. So ideally, potentially, as I just said to a commenter, potentially, even though I thought this was a stupid idea in the past, a combination of front poly and rest lace could be the way to do it. But as I've just pointed out, that even poly gets some dirty glue lines around that area. So lace will definitely get heaps of dirt around the perimeter as well. So unless that's concealed by some overhanging hairs that you've got to fold over it, that dark line will probably become visible. Now, I don't know what you people are doing with full toppers. I just found out that's the term for it. So I've got what's called as a front partial here. And most of you, because you've got male pattern baldness, if you've got a full horseshoe of remaining natural hair, so you basically look like that bald guy from Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back, but it's made of metal, but yours is made of hair, but you're similar. So you've got to wear what's called a topper, which goes all the way back over this balding area here, and then all of this that's lost at top. So I think that's the thing most of you encourage me to get, so it solves all my problems. But I just say, how the fuck are you sitting back here and shaving back? Are you feeling the shaving point? Because it's hard enough for me to get the stencil exactly right when I have full frontal access with a mirror in front of me, which is why I'm able to see this stuff. When I'm leaning forward even, I'm asking you guys, can you please tell me, not that you even talk. I'm just asking this little black dot here, which is you. You know what you look like. Look in the mirror, then remember that that's what I'm pointing at. So I can't see shit, even with just the front partial. So I don't know how the fuck you guys are dealing with all that. But like I said, I'm gonna have to invent some sort of camera system so I can look down or forwards somehow. While I'm looking at myself in the mirror frontwards, I can also see downwards while I aim my hand. And I don't know if that means that I've got to reverse the polarity of the camera to the screen so that my hand isn't backwards or whatever it is. But that's usually not hard, that's usually software related. Okay, so I'm just trying to observe how far back this thinning problem goes, where it's really thin. See, that bit there doesn't look as sparse as that bit there. But that bit's shaven. So it's not a fair comparison. I'll try that. So that doesn't look too bad. Even if I pulled back a girl's hair who didn't have male pattern baldness, I don't think it would be much different from that. That's pretty much fine, I reckon. So, as it stands, there is a considerable gap. Is that because the placement is too far forwards? Let's look at it exactly. On this edge, so the front hairline is probably, if we look at the top nub of my forehead, I say it should land just above the top nub. So the top nub ends right there for me. So this is that far forward. I was about to think, let's just get a razor and like mark that point. What I should do, and what you should probably do too, if you're light-skinned enough, spray your face with spray tan, at least up around here, a light mist of it. It's for two reasons. One is, it will contrast better from pale skin to dark hair, if you have dark hair and pale skin. That's a common combination, so I'm sorry if I am omitting the blonde-haired pale-skinned people, or the dark-skinned dark hair people, or the dark-skinned light hair people, which are the least common, I would say. If you've got that combination, unless you're an old black person, you're probably more likely to have dark hair with dark skin. That other combo is usually unnatural or old. Like, think of Wesley Snipes. He often has blonde hair, but it looks very, it's only in futuristic kind of scenarios. Or when he's playing basketball and he wanted to just have multiple earrings and weird shit, right? Punk. But most people who are dark skinned have dark hair. I'm just trying to think it through. If you have dark skin and blonde hair, or dark skin and grey hair, most of the problems that I talk about don't affect you at all. Trying to transition, that's a pretty easy combination to get right. If you've got light thing up here, so long as the poly isn't visible or the base isn't visible, then you haven't got really much of a problem. You can probably skip ahead 300 videos and you'll be fine. The most problems come with pale skin to dark hair, in terms of the colour side of things. So yeah, that top nub of my forehead there is really where it needs to start from. So I'm about, I wish I knew how to clean this comb, or had the patience to clean this comb. It's about, say, 4 millimeters too high there. Then with these sort of going back up here, that's sort of about right if everything came down by about 4 millimeters. That bit there's dropping. I can see, see the bit less tan between there and there. That's because the whole thing's a little bit too high. But then you look at this side of it, and it feels like everything's a little bit too low, but I can't see the shade properly or differentiate it properly from the sparsity of my hair properly. And if I wet it, it would make even more of a dramatic difference. I'm probably going to take this hairpiece off and try to stick it back down exactly, but even for this procedure, even now at this, with just only a front partial here, there's basically 2 cowlicks with thinning hair in the middle there. That's my scenario. And it is the same for many men. Like you look at Christian Slater, he's often had that kind of problem, or Jude Law, right? Big recessions. So they end up either shaving their head or trying to brush forward like Julius Caesar because they don't want to wear a hairpiece. And they don't look good bald. But then it's not like, don't brush it forward like that. It looks a bit funny, right? So John Travolta has the same thing, right? But he's just recently gone full beard, shaved head. Looks completely different, as I've mentioned in a previous video. He looks like the bad guy. Who's the dude from that movie? What the fuck's that guy's name? Very famous. He's from True Grit, I think. Kurt Russell is the wrong name that's in my head. They got similar hair, natural hair. That whole, brush back with the 2 fingers kind of overflop. Anyway, that guy. He shaved his head and he got full beard. It's a very specific look. It's as specific, I would say, as Wesley Snipes with blonde hair. That's how specific I think being bald with a beard is. You people are rare. It's not a friendly eating popcorn at the cinema with your girlfriend. It's not pick up the little kids after you've been babysitting and, become a human jumping castle kind of look. It's a, don't touch my bike or I'll fucking kill you and your family. That's the look it is. You know what I'm saying? Bald head and a beard. That's your only option. And it's not me saying this, it's all of them, the people. They all agree with that statement. You look like a badass, you look like a fucking bikie. If you're shaved completely, with just stubble or just nothing, and just completely bald, you look like a newborn baby. A bit of stubble gives you that instant extra roughness. You know what I mean? You don't want to be fully shaved with fully nothing on the face. That's like a doll, a mannequin, or a baby. They're the 2 types of people who have that. With just stubble and shaved head, that could be badass. That could be Jason Statham, could be The Rock a little bit, That's acceptable if your face is strong and you just embrace the bald. That's the scenario that I think it's okay. And if you're black, you can shave your head. Nobody gives a shit. You look fine. Unless you've got a baby face, maybe. Then you might need a bit of extra stubble, whatever. Right? But yeah, most people need hair. and not hair with 2 giant recessions, I think Jude Law's probably doing it wrong. Though he's acting confident while that hair's going on up there. You know, Prince Harry, I've heard people talk about Prince Harry from England. Because he's gone bald. I mean, he looks princely and everything. He's a good looking guy. He's probably not the sort of person who should wear hair though, because he's so in the public eye, and we've watched him go bald and he went boing, he's got hair again. You know what would be okay? If this became normalized and then he did it. Or if there were barely any men who were bald in the world left because there's so much technology about it. You know, and there's hair wearing products at every hairdresser and all the other things. Like, just go to Coles or Woolworths or whatever your main chain of supermarkets is. Given that the #1 viewership is from the United States, I'd say Walmart or what's the other one, Ralph's or something like that. There was Ralph's all over Los Angeles, and there was another one, I don't know. If there's places like that stocked hair they could just pick up and it was $12, you know, that's the cheap shit. Obviously no one's going to be selling real human hair in a thing like this for $12. It would be like stupidly cheap, right? But then if it was that cheap, everybody who's bald would fucking do it. Unless they were going for that shave head year. Nobody touches my girl or my bike, you know? Especially with a beard, nobody touches my fucking bike. I don't know why I got off track like that, but I just needed to point out that this scenario, nearly every instruction I give you is for pale skin, dark hair, mostly, right? We want to make it as realistic as possible. And if you are that particular, if you're dark skinned, that you want to watch my videos, you're a perfectionist. Because most of the stuff you do will just work quite easily, really, to be honest. You just want to make sure the joint's good and the hairline isn't too far low down or high up. So the first step we're looking at is this top nub of your forehead. That's where your hairs kind of went to when you had a full head of hair. And you want to follow that around in a nice smooth shape. And I don't want those big fucking arches. That's why I got a hairpiece in the first place. So anyone who recommends it to look more realistic, if you made yourself just a little bit more bald, that's not advice I give a shit about, right? Why would I want to look more bald? Because you're this old now? Nah, fuck off. There are people who are 100 who've got a full head of hair, right? So it's not unnatural to have a nice full head of hair. So let's pretend like this is my natural hair. I want to make it look natural. Okay, so it fails to look natural here at this connection point because, well, I missed for a start. It's too far out. I did peel this back and try to put it back down again, but that did not help. Also, the color differentiation here at the very front, where it's way too blonde, is going to look way off color. The back color here is a bit lighter than this hair, even though this is medium dark brown and it usually matches enough. I think what happens is the color is harder to spot with the color difference if your hair's longer, because it's all scruffed over the other hairs and they're all melded in. But once it's short, then it's like, boom, that's fake. Well, that's a different color or whatever else, right? So that's another good reason to keep your hair pretty long. Mid-length, whatever. This dark area back here is where the perimeter is, and it looks as though that is not all the way to the back either. I'm trying to do this dry, even though I know it would be helpful to get the hairs out of my way if I wet it, because I just want to see the natural look of it when it's dry, okay? So, looking at this, how close am I off from, how far am I from the perimeter, my natural hair? Well, there's a bit of, while I pull the hair down, this is peeled off here, so if I just put that back where it was. So as we know, this is 4 millimeters too high, and this looks like it's about about a centimetre. So if I pulled this back, if that's equal back in the middle as well as much as it is over there, let's double check that, then that'll be 14 millimeters in total that I'm off by. So that means that if I pulled this back by a centimetre to make that touch the border, then the front of the hairpiece, the front hairline would be 14 millimeters too far back. I know you can see that, but I kind of need to see it too, because I get the feeling there's a bigger gap here than there is in the middle here. Because I do think I stretched this into position. And you can also see that that plastic is peeled forward there. And some glue has become dirty up there as I've stretched it forward, because that's where it used to be glued down. Just going around the other side here so I can see everything. It's getting quite hot in this room now. There's no movement of air at all, it's just really stagnant. So I'm starting to sweat. Sweat is bad, I'm high. Stay. By the way, just remember, you need a good light, right? This one just came without a plug. It just came with 2 electricity terminals. It's 240 volts, and I just plugged it into an old cable that I got off some lamp or something I found by the side of the road. Do not do this while it's plugged into the wall socket. Or you will die. Yeah, hairpieces are a deadly business, but you need lighting. So whatever camera that I invent for you motherfuckers will need to probably have a ring of LEDs around the outside of it or something. What you want basically is a camera, maybe an attachment for even a second camera with the power to hold it in position, which is I've found very difficult to achieve. But that plastic thing in my shower is holding up and it hasn't fallen. Do you know why this thing hasn't fallen down? Because it has 1, 2, 3, 4 suction cups holding it up. Got quite a lot of strength to it. 2 suction cups weren't enough to hold that other one. It kept on falling down. I super glued it to the wall and then it fell down again. Then I super glued it to some plastic and then super glued that plastic to the wall and it stayed up. And then eventually it fell down. This one hasn't fallen down at all. 4 suction cups is the key. And I think also in movies, when they've got a camera that they want to film the driver of the car from the inside, or have some interviewer talking to the driver while they're driving and have a nice big fat XLR camera mounted, that's quite a heavy thing, the XLR camera, right? That can hold the weight of that with a bunch of suction cups. I think that's the way they do it. They just suction cup 4 things and the whole thing just holds the camera, which they can now just redirect and tighten so it's locked, which is what we want. But we want the extra difficult thing, which is an extension arm that comes up and can swivel around and stuff, right? And be moved almost freely without too much wobble to it. It's going to be very difficult to make it not wobble at all, something that's hanging off a wall like that in midair. And it'd be much better to have it coming out of there or out of the front of this mirror here if the mirror was attached to the wall securely and it didn't break the glass off the mirror because it's not too heavy or whatever. It needs to be light, otherwise we won't be able to do it. That's better than having something off the ground all the way up, coming up all the way over the top of you. How are you going to even carry that thing around? The suction cup idea or whatever else we can do, it can suction cup to tiles or glass, but not just concrete. The suction cups don't work on that. So basically, if it was designed to just suction cup to a mirror and come over the top of you and then wirelessly transmit the feed to your phone, you could easily see the back of your head and keep your hands free completely. It would be nice to also have a suction cup holder for your phone. Things you can all pick away and put back in your backpack, or just put away before any guests come over. Just pack it all away and easily put it back on as required, or if you're going on holiday, take it with you, so you can always have full access and visibility. That's what I need to invent, with LED lights attached. Or it accommodates an LED that could be easily attached. It's cheap enough, but still very bright. Very bright. So this gappage is here created by bending the poly too far forward. I've curled it away from its source a little bit, but I think I should have maybe favored the overlap and brought it back further that way. But if I do that here, you can already see a natural hair stubble piece just growing right there. I can't see it on this screen, but I'm pretty sure on the big TV I'll be able to see it later. So that means any of you guys with proper television monitors or computer screens will probably be able to see, and there's another stubble there. So that's how thinning my hair actually is. But you can see that, you can see this one doesn't really make a shadow, the top nub, but I can just see it's bumping and ending just there, which aligns about a centimeter lower than that natural hair. So this natural hairline here almost hits that piece of stubble. So, but if I were to stretch it down a little bit here, I'll stretch it down. See where that stubble is now? I'm gonna put the hairline right there by stretching it. And so that's basically what's happened here, and I've pulled it away, and that's sort of curling up because it was naturally wanting to just sort of sit around there, which is even higher, right? Without stretching it down, it's even a bit higher now than it actually was before. Now I'm sick of this hairpiece, I'm gonna take it off. And before I move on to these gigantic ones, well, I might just stick it to my head briefly and see what it looks like. I've still got this box of already cut newish, well, new ones basically, mostly new, a combination of lace and poly hair pieces that will fit, approximately fit, this shave zone that I've got now. So I am kind of sort of semi-eager to get to using those bigger ones, just to see if I can evolve to having a full, flawless, no lip here kind of setup, head rig. But I don't want to lose the opportunity to use those hair pieces, because that would be a loss of $500 or whatever it is. Probably about $500 in that box. I don't want to throw that away. This hairpiece, I could just continue to wear it as it is, but I don't like that, and I don't like that. It seems too small. But now I just realized I can't be bothered changing my hairpiece. This either needs to be continued after a smoke and a few hours of risk, or I'm just gonna have to wait for another day. I'll see what I decide to do. But what I call this video, if I don't cut or do anything in my hair and just leave it all messed up and shit like I've done now, an observation of the perimeter, a close encounter. What do you think would be inappropriate? You see, you know I don't bother with the fucking nice thumbnails and shit, which would obviously get me more views and therefore more money now, because I'm making about 80 cents a day. By the way, in a previous video I exaggerated. I thought 10,000 videos a day. No, it's actually, I looked it up, it's about 2,500 per 28 days. So I wasn't even close. I'm not getting 1,000 views a day, right? But potentially, if I'm part of this YouTube membership program or whatever it is, because I've reached 1,000 subscribers and I've had the prerequisite amount of minutes watched in the past 6 months or whatever it's supposed to be, then maybe now they'll push me up into the watch this video, because YouTube is Google and they know they can make money out of promoted videos that monetize, because the advertisers are paying them and they just give me the pittance, whatever I'm allowed to have. A sprinkling of, I can get 1 token for every 10 million sales they get, or whatever it is. So that's what happens. Not that I'm expecting you guys to go, ooh, I went to here to watch a hair video, but now they're offering me, you know, a t-shirt of Barbie, now 20% off. Like, how do I get this fucking ad off this fucking guy who decided to monetize the greed cunt? Why did he do that to us? Well, greed, as I said. I'm greedy now. I've learned greed. We could call it compensation. It's not like I haven't done nothing for you, is it? You learned something along the way, right? I do feel greedy though. I feel like I was trying to be part of a community and share a little bit. But now I'm saying, no. I'm the one you need to listen to. Give me your money. I'm going to take it all. But I do more than you guys in terms of my channel, right? Capitalism. I'm mostly opposed to it, even though I know it kind of is the fairest way to spread the wealth around and give people the ability to buy something that's taken hundreds of people around the world to make, of different bits and pieces that somebody's combined, so I wouldn't have been able to make it myself. So capitalism works well in that way. And everybody's got a chance in a capitalist system to have a more luxurious life. So boycott me if you think I'm being too greedy, okay? But I don't think I'm too greedy. They're all skippable ads at the moment. So that should be okay. At the moment, I can't be bothered changing this hairpiece. I feel a bit sweaty in here. So, yeah. I might get back to you. Maybe. I'm pretty sure there's nothing I can do. This scarecrow dried out poly hairpiece with the horizontal V-loops, the massive gap back here that I've been peeling away at, and the too high forehead. There's nothing I can do to this to make it look good. Now we can see here why the complaint about poly exists when it comes to the edge of the hairpiece meeting the natural hairs. So I'm just gonna mess with it a bit and see if we can bridge that gap. There will be, if I bridge the gap back here, clearly that's gonna move backwards. So we're just playing with this. Let's just assume I'm gonna throw this out today, okay? Because it's too small. Not only is it too small, but the hairs are now probably too short, even though my hair was really short, but it started to sort of at least grow back a little bit to the extent that I can afford to have a bit longer hairs so that I can at least have a better style. And if I get the hair line right with the next piece and I keep it a bit longer, then at least I can brush back over this gap with one of those smaller ones if they're all too small. Okay, I'm just gonna play with that. Okay, first of all, I just wanna see if I can close this gap here. How good is it possible to make the poly to natural hairline look over here? Now you'll notice that this is not a sharp cut edge, it's a very rounded edge. And my new stencil has got sharp edges on each side. That's one of my older ones. What is that? I don't know which is the most recent. Yeah, that's the most recent old one I've been using. And that's an older one. So let's compare the size of these two things. That one there versus that one there. When I do put those new hair pieces on my head, such as this lace one, because I had an extra bit of lace laying around, I thought I'd cut it. I've just sent back my older hair pieces to Lord Hair, which were the wrong color. I said, could you please swap these for poly? So we'll see how that goes. How much of this shape did I capture with the cut? See, this is a problem when you trace the stencil, right? You trace around the outside of the stencil. So already the tracing is larger than the stencil every time because that's the laws of physics, right? But then when you're cutting it out, you've got to cut along the inside without getting any texture marks or marker marks on the hairpiece, because you want it to be clean on the edges. So you've got to cut in from the edge a bit. So we can see from this that the hairpiece is perhaps not significantly smaller, but probably somewhat smaller. You want it to be the same size ideally. I don't understand why I can't hold it cleanly in position. That's the outside edge there. Let's just start by taking this off. Okay, first of all, I want to show you this, right? Poly to the edge, let's see. The reason I'm pointing out that sharp edge is because the rounding up at that little rounded bit at the edge is not how hairlines meet. So it was quite foolish of me to cut it like this probably. It's probably wiser to have a sharper meeting point. Okay, so you see, now that I've pushed it right up to the edge there, how that is not detectable anymore. Have a closer look at that. Obviously the very blonde hairs are the wrong color, because I've explained it a million times. All right, but this edge over here, I don't know why that is. It just dirty from always these corners. They seem to be always very dirty with a bit of glue right there on that edge corner all the time. Not sure why that always happens. As I said, this has already been sort of snipped away in the edges there, but let's just see if I can make that a tighter blend where the hairpiece meets the perimeter by pushing right up against the edge with the overlap a little bit. Not too much overlap. Okay, so you see how that's improved because it sort of meets the hair. I put it up higher. Now, like I said, this is already about 4 millimeters too high, but there's this big 1 centimeter gap back here. Let's just see if I can make that gap disappear, and we'll ignore the front hairline for a second, see if it's actually possible, okay? This has been on for 8 days. It doesn't smell too bad, and there's no real sweat in here at the moment because it's winter. So that's 8 days of regrowth stubble with big glue on it. You notice how it doesn't crumble to pieces like it does with Ghost Bond? I'm just putting that bit of glue in to baby wipe. I'm not preparing my scalp properly at this point. I don't know what the fuck that is. I thought it was glue, but it's some sort of mark that's been there for a while. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. A new cancer maybe? I don't know. These wet wipes are basically dried out. You can always restore the baby wipes by just putting a little bit of water down inside the hole. And now they're all wet again now. Don't put too much water though, because they'll just be dripping. You just want them damp. I'll put some C22 on this after I've tried these experiments, okay? So I just wanted to try this out, right? So that's the shape of this hairpiece, and the shape of the stencil it came from is like that. It's good that it's got glue on it, because now I can stick it on and see how much smaller it is from the cut. I'll start with this edge point here, which I've clearly cut away at. So it's a temple point. That is the front hairline. Put the other temple on the other temple point. And I'll try and knit it up in the middle there. Okay, so, and please note that this did have a serial number there that entire time as well. So, how's that cut? Does that meet the edges. How much do we lose when we cut it? See, it's approximate enough that any shortcomings, any tiny little bits that are a bit too short or a bit too long can be sort of stretched to fill out the space. Basically, it looks like there isn't too much of a loss in size. So anything that's different between this hairpiece and my scalp is probably the fault of my razor blade going back and back and back a little bit, you know, because I wasn't quite keeping that. That should not have been shaved all the way down to there. That shouldn't never have been shaved. It's probably because I was balding more around these points that I kept shaving back to try and meet it, and so now the hairpiece doesn't seem to be big enough anymore. But they do have a little bit of stretch to them. Don't do that with your hairpieces probably, because they'll have residual glue on it and get hairs stuck on it all the time and stuff, and you put it back in the box or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to try and see what it's like to push it all the way back. Okay? I'll push it back all the way to where I think there's going to be absolutely no overhang and no gap. So it'll be exact, I think. Okay. Okay, so that gap I kept complaining about this whole time, is that now gone? Because it feels like there's no lip. It feels like the hair is blending better. There's no real wall happening up there now. How's that? Is that a huge improvement? Less gap? Maybe it was as simple as pushing it back further up there. But because I tried to make this fit within the boundaries of my front hairline, which I know needs to be there, I let it go all the way back. So the solution to that gap was, make sure your stencil fits your bald spot. Because that's totally solved. I can't feel a flap, there's no overhang. And it feels like there's no overhang or gap. Let me just double check that. Okay, so there's no real distance between the hairpiece, which, you know, has some messy kind of hairs going on there, probably because of all the hair product I put in today. I don't recommend that hair product I put in earlier if you saw that. And now it's meeting totally up with this different colored hair that I've got on my head. My hair on my head is a different shade. And you can see some of the balding that's going on in there, but it's not a gap, right? So that's sort of thinning out, and it's probably going to go grey as well. So I don't know what happens when I want to colour it with, let's say, Just for Men or something, which I bought. It's in my other box. But I haven't had a need to really use it until this stuff sort of grows back a bit. And I'm not really using it. So yeah, so the solution for this problem, if you had that gap there, but your hairline is correct, the gap doesn't need to be there. Your hairpiece is too small for your shaved zone. Because that feels much better up here now. Almost to the point where I'm thinking I've already shaved enough off for this thing. But I think this is probably too big. Don't forget, I cut 5 out because I'm not stupid. I need spares, right? So I've got 3 poly ones and 2 lace ones, because I could only get 2 out of a lace hairpiece. But foolishly, you know, instead of, because I thought I could get 3, this one was cut from the front area of the original hairpiece. So that's why it hasn't got any of those folds. And I was trying to get a triple 1, 2, 3, like that, because that's what I was able to do with the poly. To get 3 from one hairpiece, even at this size. They're right on the edge. Yeah, because in the previous video, this fit 3 times up against a poly unit. Poly units, incidentally, are bigger than lace units. In this example, they were. So, Now that we've solved that problem, thank God, that was so easy to solve, just make a bigger hairpiece. All right, if you've got a gap, but your hairline's correct. And if not, keep trying to push that hair back into that position so it actually touches the back, and then worry about the front. I don't understand people who are putting the front down first and then letting it flop back and not worrying about what it looks like from behind. It's because I haven't got any of those camera things yet. I haven't built them or sourced them. Any sort of thing like that that's designed for big camera setups are going to be pretty expensive probably, but I have to source parts to make it cheaper and lighter and easier, just for like a little camera that beams wirelessly to your phone. Okay, so the natural hairline should be just above that top nub right there. So that's about, this isn't the best ruler in the world, but it shows you a quick example of a ruler that could live in your bathroom. So that's 0. So the hairline should be there. So 0, 1. So it's about 1 centimeter. It feels like it's more than that, but it is 1 centimeter above where it needs to be. How far can poly stretch? I haven't really stretched it down at all yet, so let's leave it back where it's sitting back there at the hairline and see if I can stretch it down all the way. And yeah, it's actually giving me a facelift. The glue's still got enough strength in it to hold there, but it's lifting my forehead up. It's still too high, but it's a lot lower. So let's see if I can stretch it all the way down there. Because it's trying to recoil. It is elastic. So yeah. There's a lot of pulling going on. But I think it's pulling from both directions. It might be strong as there, so it's going to make a big gap there, but also make me have a receded hairline there. I got that to the edges. I got that to the edges. But there's probably a huge amount missing from just in that contents zone. There's enough stick remaining in this Ultra Hold to just see how far we can stretch this. Come with me, won't you? All the way down into my forehead zone. So my natural hairline is about there. Let's see, is it tugging from back here? It probably is going to start doing so because I can feel how, like if I do, it's hard to even frown. So if you want a facelift, you could use hair to do it. Go figure. You know what? Despite everything I just said, this seems fine and fixed now for an extra couple of days. This is day 8 poly. I'm just gonna let it remain a bit stretched like that. Keep it in that position. Keep that join zone where it's at and not swap it. Yeah, this is all a bit sticky with some glue now, so that could get dirty because I just put glue all over my forehead. You can see this hair's already wanting it to stick there. See? But yeah, for now, I'll just weigh it down with some water so we can try to make some hairstyle out of this. The commenter was asking me how to stop it from being so dry. Why is this hairpiece, well, the hair is so dry? Well, they cut off human heads and then they're not attached to follicles anymore. It's like taking a flower and pulling it out of the garden and then putting it in not even a vase, just placing a flower on a table. You're going, why does it look so dried out compared to other hair, compared to other flowers? It has no life source. There's no nutrients going into it. You gotta naturally add them. I thought maybe oil would help. It's kind of just dirty and stuff, but Oil is actually what your body produces to make your hair kind of healthy looking, I think. So it could be the main sort of long stay solution. Something cleaner, but I can't see where it is. It might be in the cupboard. Here it is. Is leave-in conditioner. This also comes in spray form. I'll tell you what, leave-in conditioner always smells nice. But it's not, it doesn't hold your hair at all. It's got no hold to it. The other thing with hairs that are sort of flying off in all directions, it's often to do with the way the V-lips are sort of done. And when it's short like this is, then it's got no real hold to it. So you can compare the scruffiness of this sort of hair with a similar length back here and how it behaves when I sort of touch it, move it and push it into a position to this hair here, which sort of really wants to stick up and is really quite unsightly. The other thing about leave-in conditioner compared to oil is that it just washes off your hands easily, just like conditioner from the shower. I'm going to brush this now, but I don't trust it's got great hold anymore. But I mean, it's still good if I don't do anything to publish. Some of you guys anyway. Still some sort of gap. That blonde is really a problem. Don't bleach your front hairs too much like I did. That gap has started to, well, it's come back, right? Because I stretched it down so much, it recoiled. You can see the stretching going on right there, see? Can you see that stretching? How much hold do you expect that to have anymore? It's been exposed to sweat. Yeah, I never liked this hairpiece. You can see I got rid of those gaps on the corner, which is good for now, temporarily at least. That bit there, I cut that away, probably because there were hair missing. And so because some people say, just pluck away at the front. No, don't ever do that. Don't listen to them. They're wrong, okay? Definitely wrong with lace or poly. If it's a dense thicket, maybe you can do it with some lace, right? Because, you know, the lace sort of blends in with your head. But you could expose poly, it's shiny as fuck. It doesn't look like your forehead at all. It looks like, what's wrong with your hair line there? It's like they've got some plastic there. That's what it looks like when it's got no hair in it. That's why I cut away at it. But you can only do that so many times before it starts looking like there are chunks missing out of the front. So that gap's gonna keep coming back. Oh, and you can see what's happened here. I've totally folded it in on itself. As it recoiled, it sort of made a big bubble of folding. So perhaps I could come down here a bit in this way. But look, I've overshot as well. So there's too much slack now, but then this bit here didn't stick back there properly and it's recoiled because of all that stretching that I did. Yeah, this piece is doomed. There's nothing I can do for that, and there's now glue's collected a bit of dirt because I've lifted it up too many times. Well, that doesn't mean that it gathers dirt like that dirty line like lace does. It's because I've lifted it up. With lace, you don't need to lift it up to make that dirty line appear. It just gets it automatically. That's about as dirty as lace is going to get on its own, right there. It's not brilliant. I mean, that's got some curling going on and stuff, you know. And that I've allowed dirt to get up under there. So yeah, poly's definitely the cleaner front hairline after day one, that's for sure. But that's a fucking terrible wall of hair. But you can see there how it sort of transitions slightly. It's still not good. None of it's good. This hairpiece is not good. It's not big enough. That's for a start. The hair is not long enough to lay flat. The V-lips are going that way from ear to ear. So that's nonsense to go that way. So it's all sticky and dirty and gross, the whole thing. And back here, you can see how the plastic's sort of visible because there are hairs underneath it. because there is a little bit of overhang. Yeah, and then it's just... I'm almost tempted to, one of these days, try to dye both ends, bleach both ends. But then it'd be a sort of a rainbow of blonde back here as well. But it might not be. Because it's only at the very roots that the blonde is at. Because this is a part where the privet sort of matters, doesn't it? So if there's some blonding at the base back here, that definitive thickness of hair, because it's really hard to bleach all the bases of all the hairs all throughout the unit. There could be a mechanism by which you could clamp the hair somehow and just squeeze in dye along this way, or turn the unit upside down through a net. With lace that would have been easier. With lace it's easy to dye the sort of roots because you can turn the whole thing upside down and just place bleach all along the back here that's got the right viscosity to not dribble down through into the hairs themselves. It just stays along the surface and sort of just bleaches downwards a little bit. With poly you can't bleach from that direction. If that was to happen, they would have to do it at the factory, but they never do. They should. They'll make the hair look better. Please do it in the future, please. I mean, unless they've never seen any of my videos or whatever, why wouldn't they know that we have to bleach the front to make poly not a wall of hair? How would they not know that? And people often say, why don't they just get blonde hair and then bleach from there up? Leave the roots blonde and then bleach up, because for a start, European hair is really expensive. And secondly, I think they don't want to bleach hair completely blonde first from Indian brown hair to make it completely blonde so that the roots are good, and then dye on top of that, because it would probably weaken the hair and make them really frizzy and not natural and beautiful. But if they do have a method of doing that without causing that, then that would be the way to do it. Bleach all the Indian hair blonde for every unit they make first. So all the roots are pale coming out. So that the trick, which is the V-loop or the knots, are never seen ever again. They've gone from the face of the earth. That would work under those circumstances. With pale skin, probably. You don't want really to have blonde roots when you've got black skin, because then you go black, blonde, black. That's like, it'd be a top deck, whatever. I don't know, licorice all sort of something. I don't know. Can't remember. There's a good parody for some sex joke I can't think of. I'm not even expressing myself in a dirty mode at the moment. I'm saying like it's a fucking yeah. Some people have sex, they rooted each other up the arse. There's a black guy on one end and some bitch in the middle. See, I'm not even getting into the joke. I don't even know what the joke is. But it's something to do with top deck, probably. Chocolate bar. Whatever. Anyway. Yeah, see, that gap's redeveloped because that stretching has forgotten where it's supposed to be, right? That hairpiece is useless. Let me try that again. But this time it needs to stick to the wall. As I say, this hairpiece is useless. Okay, ready? And action. So, well, this hairpiece is useless. One more time. So I guess this hairpiece is useless. I can't have it folding. That's not going to stick. It needs to be exposed. It needs to fly through the air backwards and go splat. That stay there. Well, this hairpiece is pretty fucking useless. Yeah, so in conclusion, this hairpiece is pretty fucking short and disgusting and I don't like it anymore, so this hairpiece is pretty useless. Fuck. And blah blah blah. Action. This hairpiece is pretty useless. Okay, so I'm probably going to clean this up But because it's got some residual crap on it, maybe it's good now time, reorder the words on your own, but to test out one of these things and see how big this is. Which is impossible sort of to gauge without wetting the hair. Let's try the lace one, French lace. So let's assume I want a front facing haircut. I'll place that up there. This seems like the wrong color, doesn't it? And already you can see once that's up there, these temples are going to be too low. So the temples matter in terms of placement. So well, let's just say the hairline matters in terms of placement. So that is blonde, bleached hair at the very front of this lace. Okay, it's French lace. Now where does my hairline begin? It begins right there. And the temples are stabilized in each direction in there. And then the hairpiece, hang on a second. Something different about this hairpiece compared to my last hairpiece. Like the temples feel like they need to be higher, or maybe it's not far enough apart. This is definitely as wide as those other ones, isn't it? It's gotta be. That goes there, that should dribble down to there. And then because of the length of it, it's no longer a flat, it's more like underneath it seems to be so big that it needs to be rounded a little bit or something, because it's doing sort of that sort of thing to try and reshape itself.
Hello, I'm a hairpiece. What's your name? I'm Harry. Harry the hairpiece. Nice to meet you. I wanna fuck your mom.
Can't do it. I'll get to hair puppets in another episode maybe. Alright, so that's hard to see what's going on. I'll try and do little plaits for you.
Oh, you like that, you little schoolgirl? I didn't do my homework. I'm a naughty girl.
That's gonna require shaving back. Yeah, this is too big for this. But until I shave back, I won't be able to feel exactly where these temples are supposed to go to land exact. It feels like they're not wide enough. This whole hairpiece feels like it's not wide enough. That can't be right, can it? Where's my splat? Hey, Splat.
I'm Splat, the hairpiece.
I've got to see that this and this are the same width from temple to temple, otherwise I'm fucked. How can it be different or shorter? That would be very bad. How would you do this comparison? That looks shorter than that. That should be more likely to be too wide, if anything. I guess I won't be able to properly tell until I shave that back a bit. Okay, let's take that off for a second. You really don't want those things in your cut. They're pretty fucking annoying. Those fold marks. So if that's the right place for the hair line there, if this is long enough, then there shouldn't be a gap back there, should there? But then I think that's where it needs to be placed so that there's no gap. So that means it's too short. Because the little strands of stubble are coming from there. And look, that's a really unbleached hair piece. Look at how dark those knots are. That's really dark knots. So imagine wearing that, you'd be fucked. Those are completely unbleached knots. This other side though, might be the side that no, I don't think it bleached this at all. No, these are only designed, they're only cut to work in one direction. And that side there with the hairpiece, that's just going straight in the bin. It'll never fit me again, and I'll never bleach it. Okay, so you can see the shape of that. That's clearly the front hairline. with those fucking things on the front. What was I thinking? I wasn't, clearly. You'd want those things at the back because they're fucking unsightly. And they're gonna be like a loop, a chunk, and a chunk in those two locations. Please, hair companies, make rectangles, not fucking domes, okay? For front partials. I mean, almost exclusively for front partials. Not only just for that, but for mustaches and stuff as well. Dress ups. That doesn't look like it's gonna be long enough either. And that lace is not going to stretch as much as something else might. Too small, too big. What would you do? Wear earrings and shave your head and start a new fashion maybe. Or just have really long sideburns. But then the Jewish people might feel jealous because they thought they had the longer sideburns. But I'll be balder and longer sideburny than them. My friend's Jewish. My mum's part Jewish, which means I'm part Jewish, actually. Yeah. This is the way to wear the hairpieces. You know, I don't get out much. I should go for more drives. Okay. That is too big, that is too small. If they're all too small, then the remaining option is shave back here now. I don't want to. I'm not ready. Well, night's night, bitch. You ready? Did you bring the lube? I'm not ready. Sure you are, honey. Have a drink. Okay, look at this. And this one's, that's more, those knots are a bit better, aren't they? Not as dark, those knots, as the other ones. But they're not great, but they're still better. That's not a great hairpiece anyway, is it? I just want to start throwing these away. And that one, that's not even the right colour. That's the same colour as the three that I just mailed back to Lord Hair today, hoping they'll just swap it for this colour poly. And what the fuck cut is that? I've just butchered that thing. Why is that still in the box? You're the wrong colour, fuck off. Hey, no offence to anybody, none of you. You're all black as far as I can see. You're a black dot. Look at this thing. No wonder these are at the bottom of the box. These are last resort hairpieces when I get desperate. But the thing is, I won't have any last resort hairpieces if I've only got these 5. And I can't shave that incorrectly or I'll be fucked. Because I'll have no visibility back here, will I? How much more do I have to shave back? How do I even calculate that? I don't even remember how I even did it. Doing this, shaving back further, is quite virginal. It's almost like starting from scratch. It's almost like the day that I shaved this off the first time. And I don't intend to shave my head if I fail. I'll be wearing a hat until the strip that I need grows back, if that's what it has to come to. But I won't leave the house for another 3 or 4 months while it happens, if that happens, and I really don't want to fail. That'll be fucked. So the thing is that the stencil is going to be flat. I can't just lay it down on my head and just... Okay, so I want the front hairline to be there. Okay. That's not supple. That's the top of my forehead. So if I roll that back, that's where the shaving back would need to go to. But looking at that stencil, it's already there, isn't it? That's already at that shave zone point. Look. Okay, Okay, so that's the front hairline there. I see. It's just there. A tiny bit of overlap into that bad section. I'll tell you what. I will start by cleaning my head with C22 and see what stick. I'll clean my head with some C22, shave off the initial bit of stubble, and just see what sticks. I'm not sure what to do about this. Not you, or not this. I'm getting fucked up. To shave the face, to trim the beard, that requires the grace. Blah, 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 blah. But if you slip, you rip the lip a bit. But that's the truth. Show me how you want it to be. Do my loneliness is killing me, and I must confess, I still believe, man, when down to you, it's not a man. Give me a sign, hit me, baby, one more time. Every single line of that song seems like the title of the song. My loneliness is killing me, right? And that doesn't really sound like the title of it. I must confess, could be called Confessions. I still believe, like I still believe, could be the title of the song. Still believe when heaven hits you, blah, 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 blah. It could be the title. Give me a sign. So that song's obviously called Give Me a Sign. Hit me, baby, one more time. Okay, maybe it's called Hit Me, Baby, One More Time. Maybe it's just called One More Time. I don't know. I really don't know what that is. I just thought it was residual glue that I hadn't cleaned off, but it's not leaving. I've got to try and keep the talking going, because that last video I put up, well, the 200th episode, that was so fucking boring. I basically just left in everything I was planning on speeding through with a later edit. But then I thought, can't be fucked. It's easier for me just to write little notes saying this is the most boring episode I've ever made. Get ready to skip through. I mean, actually, you guys are skipping through or just stopping watching, because the average watch time for a lot of these 1 hour videos and stuff I make is about 20 minutes. Which means, you know, some people might be watching the whole thing and they're bringing the average up. But can you see how doing this could result in accidental expansion of the shave zone? And like pushing the perimeter back and back and back and back. That's why the hair pieces are probably not fitting anymore, because I keep doing that. I feel like I've already just shaved back further just from that one. I'm almost tempted to start gluing one of those large hair pieces from the front hairline so that I can accurately roll it back while it's wet so I can see what the hell's going on and try to get it to land wherever it's got to land and shaving that extra bit, what is needed, away. At the moment, my forehead feels wet, and so does my face, so I know I'm sweating a bit. This room is not the coolest room in the world. It is the middle of winter, but coming towards the end of winter actually. But still, I sweat in this room, not enough airflow. I think my body heat might just warm up. The LED's a little bit warm. I turn off the main light in here because there's a fan that goes throughout the entire recording. Oh, and I also noticed a lot of comments get caught in YouTube's spam filter and things like that. So I went through and undid a few of them so that they could be reposted, so they would arrive. But there's some of them like 20 days ago, so you probably look for it and went, what the fuck, why didn't it show up? Well, they've been restored, except the ones that are basically, there's some of them writing crude remarks about their end, homophobic remarks and shit against particular people and stuff. No, you're not coming back on, fuck off. So I got rid of those fucking hooligans. Even though I might seem very homophobic, if not gay, I'm not gonna, if the option is right in front of me and it's easy for me to go, keep it deleted, I will. But there were some people who said, fucking shave it off, bro. I kept those ones. I want to have a drinking game where I fucking drink every time I read that comment. And people who are just opposed to the entire concept of vanity. But they still wear clothes. You know what I mean? Those people, hypocrites. Still brush their teeth, still get haircuts. Let's... Yeah, you need clothes for warmth. Yeah, well then why don't you just wear a blanket over your nudity? It's impractical to walk around. Why? Because you get arrested. Okay, well then why? If you thought online Facebook gave you an example of how stupid and thick fucking people are, try playing the game of Risk. The novices, the lowest beginner level people, I hope to God I was never that bad. They are shockingly stupid. They don't even know when they're just getting in the way and they're putting themselves in immense danger and losing the game for everyone against the mammoth giant. They might have like 12 here and 1 from the enemy who owns all of Asia and America and Europe. And all he has to do is go clonk, 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 clonk and just wipe out that entire system. But they don't. They invade the person who they're not going to destroy, but they're attacking somebody for no reason. They put pieces on the worst part of the board. They just don't know what the fuck they're doing. I'm sick of playing that. That guy's just fucking me around. Like, I nearly came back. He was like 150. He was some mammoth and I had like 12 left. 12 troops. And I squeezed him back down to about 19, and then he got like this string of fucking 12 or something. Fucking just lucky, motherfucker. The only reason he's still alive. Now, the computer's got to automatically take over at this point. I'm getting pretty fucking tired. My head was quite cool. It's not sweating really, but you know. Okay, I've got a theory. I don't want to start with the best piece, which is probably this one, but I do want to test a poly unit, just so I know that the perimeter is going to work. And also because there's a method that I've got in mind on how to find the edge, which is starting with the front hairline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the front of this piece with some Auger tape ultra hold. Leave it for 15 minutes, then place it on my front hairline and just let the back fall back here. Then I'll brush the hair forward so I can see the back, and I'll be able to get back. I'm only probably going to do this the first time. Other times I'm probably going to start with the back as usual. But for this time I need to find out where to cut that back to. And it's always going to be in relation to where the front's going to be. So that shave point. See, the thing is, I think I'll put this on, move it back a little bit, because the stencil didn't really give me a proper example of where it's supposed to land. You know what I might even do? I might even just put it on, glue it back to there, let there be overhang, and brush it back for a while, just so I can get a feel for it. And just get a feel overnight in the next couple of days, maybe for how big that flap is. But at some point I might realize, why am I trying to shave further back when, now that I've shaved this nicely, it's all gonna work well. Why don't I just make these smaller? And I'll go back to the original idea so I can get more hair pieces for my dollar. Because at this point I'm kind of wondering why the fuck I would go further back when all I really have to do is wait for my hair to grow back. And I already solved this in the previous recording, on this same video, that if I push it back far enough, right to the brink, there isn't a gap problem. So as long as my hair's long enough to make sure that low density in there is concealed, all I need to do is make sure that the hair piece is pushed back far enough. So I may decide that I can go even smaller than this again. But the pieces I've got now, this size, are not going to be big enough anymore. Let's just try it. I'll hold it against my head. This is that's Swiss lace, by the way. That is the final piece of Swiss lace. I didn't realize it was there. You can see how sparse those hairs are. I can see you through this, right? That's how thin. So that's thinner. That's a thinner density than my natural hair up there. I know that's doubled over, but there you go. That's sort of, look at that. Now look at that. This is medium light density. It's also probably the incorrect color compared to my natural hair. Whereas this poly piece, which I was about to put on, is a darker. So that's medium brown, and that's medium dark brown from Lord Hair. That's color number 5, and that's color number 4. Remember, 1 is jet black, and I don't know, maybe color 23 is white, let's say. So black to white on the spectrum. So this is only level 4. So it's only 3 lighter than black. This is number 5, so this is 4 lighter than black. That's one tone apart. Just in their stock systems. I mean, they can color match as well. I'm just saying, if you want to just pick something that's ready to go from the stock pieces, they're the colors that they've got that have already been pre-made. So they can just mail it to you within a week. That's how fast they come when you choose stock pieces. Custom, that's planning ahead. And I don't know if you can get the same sort of deals with stock. Sorry, with custom hair pieces. with stock hair pieces, they're so easy it's already been pre-made. They've mass produced them, and they just mail out 3 or 6 or whatever you want immediately. As soon as they get your order, they process it, blah, blah, blah. There's probably a whole shelf of them lining all the different colors and waviness levels and stuff. And they're just ready, box it up and send it to this person. Okay. This will get me started though. I think they're all too short. This has got horizontal V-loops. So when I put it on, it's going to be side, which is not great, is it? And I need it to land. You can see if you're very good with your eyesight. I just got a new prescription for my reading glasses, which I've had for 3 weeks. But the prescription was a bit wrong. So that will be the front middle there. And hopefully those temples will line up. And then I can feel on the back that there is going to be significant overhang back there. But like I say, tonight I'm just going to let it overhang. Because the solution might just be to press it up further. And the final length might be halfway between those two thicknesses in terms of the stencil size. Because I was pretty convinced that was a fairly good connection once the hair's long enough. By the way, I'll just tell you how long my hair is exactly, because this is a 1 1/4 inch, or 32 millimeter, 3.2 centimeters. I think it's called a guard that goes on a pair of hair clippers. So my hair is now, right in that spot there is a 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. Could even be pushing 2 inches there. Let's just say 1.5, right? There it's sort of cut a bit too short. That's like 1 1/4. And that's like 1.5 maybe. And over there it's all less, obviously. So I'll do as I said. First I'll just obviously wet it, because I can't wet it later on when it's got glue on it, because it does weaken the glue somewhat. Okay, so I've wet it, I've flicked the excess water off. Now I'm going to, on this particular occasion, brush away from the scalp. And I know which side the scalp is because I've bleached the scalp side. Okay. Normally I would brush it forwards so I can line that bit up best. But today's different. I'm pleased to think that potentially I was wrong about needing a bigger piece. I want to get rid of that flip, that lip thing. But yeah, if I press it right up, jam it nice, and it's a good tight shape, it might work just as well. And I'll continue to be able to get 3 hair pieces out of each hair piece, each stock hair piece. So when I buy a pack of 3 poly, which is currently $399, including delivery, by the way, I get it through DHL, that's how they send it to me. DHL delivery company. Okay, I've brushed it, and I should really make this an extra step that I never talk about. I should check if there's any excess plastic here. By the way, somebody recommended that you use a razor blade instead of scissors when cutting it out on the back, which they say will decrease the number of hairs you cut. It could work, but if this is all lying on its side like that, imagine this is not cut out yet and you want to cut out something in there, and you're pressing down with the blade so it's pressing hard enough to cut through the plastic, hairs cut pretty easily. So unless the hairs are hanging down through some, vent system like that, and so there's no way the hairs can be sliced, and getting every single hair in through some kind of grate so that the hairs can't be cut could prove very difficult. And if the grate is all just wonky all the way along, right? If it's all wonky, then the blade's just going to fall into the gaps and slice through heaps of hairs. So I don't know exactly how. Somebody also mentioned tweezers and a razor, so I'm not sure exactly how that works. I need to see instructional videos. Always put a link. I mean, you'll probably be put into the naughty box by YouTube, or they might not even let you put links, I don't know, but write it in such a way, if it fails the first time, that you don't get blocked by YouTube for writing it. Like put space com or something, you know, instead of .com. And put spaces in between the slashes or whatever needs to happen so that people can read that link. Because we need the links, we need to be able to watch what you're talking about. Don't just mention, oh, it exists somewhere in the ether. No, not good enough. Yeah, so I'm going to put a line of glue all along the front there. And I might as well just no, I won't. I'll just put a line of glue on the front. I'm sorry, I don't have the slightest recollection of what I was. I'm bald. Fuck me. Very bald. So I think last time we left our hero, I glued the front there. The hairs are kind of wet and sort of controllable. Hopefully I'll just be able to place those, grab those two ends and stick them on the front. In the front first, I've got to remember that. There's no way for me to sort of brush this now, otherwise it's going to stick to everything. Gotta be a bit careful not to add too much alcohol, because and now I'm going to slide this around on my forehead as I get it into position, so that there's residual glue on my fucking forehead. Look now, it is nicely. It's not ideal, is it? I'm just going to stick my fingers over those temples. Try to get the center down to where I think it needs to land. There's no shortage of hairpiece here. So the temples are probably cut a bit too wide. It's okay, I'm just experimenting, but this is just going to be a bit of a difficult kind of experiment. I want them to land the same altitude, obviously. There's no glue on the back of this or anything, so that's about as horizontal as it's possible to get, I think. You really don't want horizontal V-loops. It's like having unbleached knots. And if I hadn't bleached this front hairs here, it would have just been absolutely atrocious. Wait, there's a bit of glue in there. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Looks like I got a bit of glue up there as well. That, to me, pretty much looks exactly like a hairpiece. That's a wall of hair, man. Comparing that with these horizontal V-loops, although another one of them is going to be exactly the same problem. This is also horizontal V-loops. Only good for one thing, brushing forward. Despite its blondness, these horizontal V-loops will have the same effect. Now, I spoke to you earlier about this V-looping. It's more like a rectangle U shape. Just trying to close up. Okay, you see here now, this is good visibility here. Here down the front, they're clearly horizontal. You're going all the way across that way from ear to ear, not nose to spine. But then here it sort of switches, doesn't it? At that point there, they've started stitching in a completely different direction. Don't like it when they do that. This one, which I'm about to show you, is the opposite. This one has nose to spine stitching, so it should look a lot better than the one I'm wearing and the one I just showed you. Ready? Okay, so when it's pressed down, you see how they're nose to spine? I'll bring it down further so there's nothing underneath it. So that will be nose to spine, and when I brush it nicely, it'll be the best of all the hair pieces. You see all those lines that run underneath everything all the way along? It's because plastic is too thin to hold just a V, right? It's got to be like that, so it's got some hold. Now, you're all going to say, that's much better, that lace piece you've got on your face. Wear that instead, because it doesn't look like a fucking wall of hair. Alright, I'm going to show you the lace one. I also bleached the very front edge of this, so it'll be quite good. Although there's not completely well bleached knots. Okay, so if anyone's ever wondering what lace looks like over the top of hair, that there, see, that's over scalp, forehead, and then that's over hair. You can actually see the netting happening. Completely different color underneath. It's hairpiece over hair. But yeah, that front hairline compared to the lace front hairline, you're going, whoa, that's much better, aren't you? Yes, you are. Of course you are. But that's horizontal. Okay, so now that's the worst. Horizontal V-loops of poly. That's probably the best on day one until that fucking disgusting dirty line appears, right? Because nobody would know that at all was a hairpiece where that hairline starts until day two, and then you're fucked. And then I'll try and balance it on my head, all of them. Right? That's one fucking wall of hair, but even though it's bleached knots, it's not good enough. Two French lace with a bit of bleaching at the front edge. Yeah, looks really good. And then second, so that's first best, the other one was last best. And then this one is the medium, but lasts longer. At this same, it'll look the same for weeks at a time. Ready? This is the poly with the nose to spine hairs, and of course the bleached but that's without brushing it or anything. So it's clearly not as convincing as the as the French lace, but it doesn't get as messy. But there's still sort of lines going through everything there. Okay, so yeah, see, that's why you see all that glue that's gathered and now hairs are sticking to it and stuff. That is why you want to do it in two parts. You want to stick from the back first, keep that poly lifted, glue the poly, then push it back down exact. Because when it's not exact, the glue gets all around here. But it's not a thick layer of glue, it's just residual that just sort of rubbed off a bit with the alcohol. So I will probably continue to wear this, but with a brush forward look. Something I'm looking out for here is whether or not I ever need to shave that back area of hairs off. I really want to not do that. Whether I could just cut this back area of the poly off so that my hair pieces can scale up by that much, not that much, whatever it is. So with this hairpiece, I'm probably going to try to cut that off, but back further, so when it sticks down, it'll just be trying to bridge that gap. Let's see if I can do it while it's stuck to my head. Now, right now. Okay, let's have a look. I want to be very. It feels quite impossible, actually. It feels quite impossible to do this. Now, how would you do this with a razor? I don't know. I'm just going to come in from, say, there-ish. I can't see anything that's going on back there now. I need this mirror. Oh, that's cool. I've got another mirror here. Now I'll just do that with one hand while I look at the reflection up there. Perfect. No, I'm joking. I can't see a fucking thing. And you can't hold a mirror above your head while you're doing shit. You need something to hold it for you. Steppity. It's not enough. Fuck. It's not enough. I'll start that again, the whole thing. Okay, let's see. Get back here. Now this hair's too dry, it's in my face. Gotta get it out of the way. That's good, it's long enough to tuck. Beautiful. Alright. We'll just continue along here for now. Ready? Would you be impressed if you met somebody with a mustache like this? Yeah, man. Smoke the pipe with me. What's that like back there? See, what the thing is, once this has been cut to scale, I can just place this up against the stencil and chop that bit off the stencil if this all works out nicely. You might still get 3 pieces out of a hairpiece. Do you understand what I say when I say that? 3 pieces out of a hairpiece. I'm only using a front partial, but I buy stock pieces. The stock piece is this big, and I can cut 3 stencils this size out of 1 stock hairpiece. But when I upsized to the hairpiece that I've got in my head now, it was this size until I just sort of sliced that part of it off. There. I want to get 2 hairpieces, and I want to get 3, because then I save money. And then I can also see the hairpiece in the mirror better. Yeah, that's the other thing. So with the glue that was on the bottom of this thing, this was all clean, no glue on my head at all, right? Then I sprayed some alcohol on it, then I slipped it all around. I've learned in the past that's not the way to do it. The only reason I'm doing it this time is because I really needed to do the front first, because I didn't know how far back I needed to shave this part of my head. And now I'm trying to avoid shaving that part of my head altogether. And I realized just from watching the previous video that with sunlight and everything, that top part of my head is really starting to recede significantly. So you're probably thinking, just fucking shave it off, bro. But you're not thinking shave it all off, bro. You're thinking shave that back and then make the hairpiece all the way to the back there. Because you guys keep telling me that's all fucking disappearing. But I get the feeling that I can get away with it a bit if it grows longer. And this cut that I've given myself here, how does that match up? You've got good visibility. I've got 0 visibility, obviously. If I'm looking down that way, and I know that when I lean forward on camera when I watch previous videos, I'm now standing in tippy toes so you can see down in there, because I can't see. How is that going? Did I cut off too much, too little? What's happening? Give me some fucking feedback over here. Alright. I'm gonna leave it that length and wait until it annoys me. That's my plan. So I'll peel this all forward and add glue to the poly directly. No, I won't. Do you reckon I should add to the poly or the hair? Well, the thing is, if I add it to the poly, it's less likely. Then I won't have to scrape any glue out of these hairs at all. Yeah, so that's what I'll do. It'll be hard to aim though, and so I might actually let glue spill onto all of this. So I gotta be careful. And for the sake of you not having to endure a really long, boring process, I will pause the video when I start doing it and come back when it's dry and I just push it down. Then I'll cut my hair. And I'll probably skip through that as well, so you don't have to watch me cut my hair again, because I've shown you that it takes a long time. All right. Booker tape all rolled. I'm going to use the brush to glue along that surface there, and I'm going to just press that back down. And I'm just going to really make sure that the hairs stay out of the way by using that. And I've got my big ears to stick it back like that. So I've got full access. And I'm gonna glue the plastic directly. I'll see it in a sec. Everyone in the future is gonna have exactly that attire, with the bald spot shaved there and everything. But at the moment I feel a little bit like a princess. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? A princess monk. So it's 15 minutes later. A few hairs have come out of there. I reckon that's from placing the lace hairpiece over the top of this, and then we're just sitting on top of this. Because poly doesn't just fall like that, lace does. Shed, I mean. Right. Let's see how well that fits. You be the judge. How's that? Does it look like it was overhanging? Or does it look like it's pretty accurate into the gap? Okay, well there are corners there that are hanging. There's overhang, a little bit of overhang going on over there. Alright. Just shove their face. What the fuck? Is there still a gap? How is it still a gap? No, I wish there was an overhang. That's ridiculous. Is that how balding I am? Is that overhung into the hairy zone? Is that happening back here as well? It's fucked up, man. I think it's happening more there than it is there, but still pretty unacceptable, isn't it? That's fucking crazy how different that density is. I feel like I want to lift it up and stretch it back even more, but does it go all the way around? The whole reason I did this was to get rid of that fucking gap. Look how long this hair is. It must be shedding a bit, because they wouldn't be like that originally. They've pulled, sort of, haven't they? But more importantly, why is there still a fucking gap there? How is there a gap there? Surely there was too much overhang to begin with, and I cut off that mustache amount. That's all I cut off. How's that for a hairstyle? Suitable? Yeah, that's pissing me off now. That is stupid. What is going on? Is that just baldness all throughout that area? Is it really that thin? All the way through there, all the way to the back. And push that forward and then part it from there. No, that's much more than that, isn't it? I can't tell if it's the shave zone or not. That gap's ridiculous, man. I don't understand it. Really. I feel like I've got to lift this, peel that off and then stick it back down while it's still got some wetness to it. Let's do that. Feels a bit difficult to... I don't get my grubby little fingerprints all in there and stuff. I'll cut it first. I might get back to that later, maybe another day. Let's see. We totally solved that hair gap problem earlier, didn't we? And this front hairline is shit. What I'm going to do for now is give myself a general haircut, which means I'm going to keep it fairly long, but it's going to be more manageable. Alright, okay, well if that's a gap there now as well, I think that's smaller though than the other gap I was looking at. You know what surprises me? South Africa isn't among my sort of top 5 English-speaking country audiences. I've heard that Indians, only 10% of them really can speak in English, and only 1% of them can really speak good English. But given they've got a massive population, I think they are members of the English-speaking world. Say far more, I should be saying you, because a lot of my viewers are Indian, right? From India. Much more than China. So I don't get really, China doesn't rank in my top country for viewers, even though it's got the biggest population in the world. when I played music, I mean, the Chinese always walked past. They didn't really want to be involved. While everyone was clapping along and singing, the Chinese just walked past like it wasn't part of their lifestyle. So maybe the Chinese have got a very specific culture of their own, and they don't need Western music or anything like that. Which is strange because you would think that the Chinese are more inclined to be followers just based on stereotypical reputation and observations we have from life, right, about the Chinese people. You don't see them often as unique individuals. It's like they're scared or something. Tall poppy. I'm also a bit surprised that Australia is not my #1 audience as well, because I thought that YouTube would probably promote that locally more than anywhere else. But I guess YouTube is an American company, but Google is, so I don't know. I mean, America's got a huge population, but then so does Brazil. But yeah, I guess Brazilians speak a lot less English than Indians do. I think Brazil really focuses in on its Portuguese. It's got really a very strong culture of its own. Whenever Brazilians travel, they kind of ignore the locals and just do their own thing, just using the public facilities. Which is quite disrespectful. But I suppose a lot of people from various countries are inclined to do that if they move around in large groups. It's hard to respect tourists who travel in huge groups. I just assume that everybody in the world feels that way when they're suddenly visited by a busload of tourists from another country. Who are not especially curious about local traditions or culture. Or, not that I respect culture, because it's just a set of behaviors that are not kept based on their merit, but rather on their habit. So that doesn't make something more worthwhile than another thing at all. Australia doesn't really have a strong culture, and we're quite jealous of countries that do. But if you do come to Australia, and I think I speak on behalf of every citizen of every country in the world, if you do visit somebody else's country that's not your own, show an interest in what they do. Definitely. Don't just go and use their facilities and use them as servants. You're a guest, so behave yourself. And represent your own country when you're there, because the way you behave is, for some, if you're not a common tourist to that country, or if you are one, you will be representing your country. So the more people somebody sees from a particular country, or visitors from one other country misbehaving, or behaving disrespectfully, or not respecting personal space, because they just stand right there, get the fuck off me, right? That's not how, look around, nobody else is doing that except you and your people, right? Then you're not welcome if you do that. Like Australian tourists have a pretty bad reputation in Indonesia and Thailand, where it's cheap for us to just travel over and visit. I can't be bothered working on that gap, really, at the moment. That's a really thick hairline. There's a chunk of glue right there. And you can see all that area there. There's some C22 spray to get that out. Just pluck it. Yeah, I guess it's a bit straight to pluck that. Alright, so by the way, not sticking up. You notice how it's not sticking up? You also notice how the gap can't be seen because it's covered by hair. The hairline is not great at all. At all. But a bit of a glimpse of it is not a dead giveaway. So what does it look like? Does it look like it's just going funk out the front, or can it be blended in a bit? See, muck is very strong. It's very, very strong, and it just holds things. But it can't let the hair look smooth and flowing like it kind of does now. Leave-in conditioner when it dries. We'll just let the hair sprawling back into the direction it wants. I want to give the hair weight, but still, I don't know, muck's the only thing I really know how to use. I could try wax. I'll try wax this stuff. Power and Touch Anti-Crunch Wax. So it doesn't make any sense. Anti-crunch wax. Smells like Nivea body lotion, basically. They probably smell the same, those two things. Just like standard cream, I guess. Right. It's got a good consistency. Is it making fibrous joints? No. Okay, I'm just going to put that directly. No, it probably needs a bit of moisture because it's starting to feel like it's tugging. I don't feel like it's right to be putting this in completely dry hair. I don't want my hands. Alright, so that's holiday one again, I guess. Some sort of resizing title. I think I'll call it figuring out how to make my hairpiece bigger. It's too long a title. What do you reckon I should call it? Upsizing, fitting a larger hairpiece. Let's do that. You're all going to suspect from the title that I've shaved in if you've watched the previous videos, but haha, tricked you. That gap problem back there, I think we overcame it towards the beginning, and one of the previous recordings will be amalgamated into this one release. Let's put that out the drain. This could potentially mean that I don't have to throw away all my old smaller hair pieces because they couldn't all nearly fit, right? But you can't have a gap that big. It's unacceptable. And those peaks are not going to grow back unless somebody keeps hounding me to try finasteride every single day of my life for the rest of my life, or Rogaine every single fucking day along with my hairpiece. No, because you see, the thing is, the technology of transplant technology will grow faster than my hair will regrow with the waste of money and effort I put into finasteride or Rogaine. If I knew for sure that it just fucking worked, like magic, I wouldn't even do what I'm doing. I just do that. But I tried it for 6 months. It was a huge expense. I was reading threats of fucking impotence and shit. Like, yeah, they cause enlarged testicles and chode like dick. No thanks. I thought, no, these little blue pills, I'll stop snorting them right away. I thought, I'll just stick something in my head. Tried some pubes, right? Didn't need those down there. And then I think it was probably the League of Gentlemen, the League of Gentlemen with Sean Connery. When I saw his hair, because everyone knows he's bald, right? And I thought, that looks fucking real. Where did it get that from? Is that what a toupee is? And then I started Googling it, and sure enough, they sold to the public. That was the early days. The 0.03 millimeter poly is not a perfect front hairline, especially when they're horizontal V-loops. But it all gets a bit lost in the mix when you got some strands and shit hanging over your face and stuff, right? I think I look better with longer hair. Now, the short sides is fresher looking, but it will not transition as nicely into my natural, into the longer hair. So, unless I can figure out a way to keep that short and then sort of make it long there. I mean, this sort of might work right now. So long as the front stays nice, I can keep the brush back over any sort of gappage, potentially. So long as the front stays nice. But this isn't that nice. I mean, this is the worst front hairline you could probably get. That's horizontal V-loops. And yeah, I think, honestly, despite everything I say, plucking that chunk of hairs right out of that spot there did lessen this line and break that up a bit. So there might be something to the plucking technique that I've been hesitant to agree with, because in the past I always thought it meant like exposed poly, don't do that, right? But because there's such thick density here, it could be that I could just pluck away a couple of them. Just remember, this glue that I've got along the forehead is not something that would traditionally exist here. It's just that because I was trying the new piece out, I had to start at the front hairline to figure out how far back it was going to land. Oops. So unfortunately I got some glue along the front here now that I've got to deal with. Yeah, so if you guys know of anything like some sharp edge tweezers that I could just grab and pull and it would just tear, because this stuff stretches, right? Before breaking, and then it could break any way at once. I mean, I like the texture of poly. And to be honest, I can't feel that I'm wearing hair. I remember what it felt like to have hair, and this doesn't feel any different. The only difference with hair was, oh shit, I better wear a hat. Somebody might see my bald fucking spots. But with this, I know that's not gonna happen. There is a way to hide all the bald spots now, which is great. And I'm so glad I've got it this long. In fact, I might not even cut it for the next few weeks. Just style it, keep this weight to it. So the length of this hair at the very front is down to the bottom of my eyeballs, right? Which is about 12 centimeters. And at the back here, it's at like 11 centimeters, which is 2.5 approximately. So 1 inch is 2.5. Do the math for me. 2.5 is 1, 5 is 2, 10 is obviously 4, and so an extra inch, maybe 4 to 5 inches is a good length to let your hair flop at if you want to have this style. If this is 4 to 5 inch long hair, my new favorite length, I guess. And the great thing about this compared to my natural hair is it doesn't go spring when it gets to that length. So it's quite manageable. So let's call this one fitting a larger hairpiece. The important thing I forgot to mention is that if I go and meet people now that I've seen recently, I'll wear a hat. I'm not going to just rock up with fucking that much longer hair since a week ago. No, I'll be careful with that. Yeah. And that includes any sort of online videos or anything. Except with you guys, because you don't matter. Anyway, see you next time.